Welcome back, everybody. Here's another beginner's shop tip. All right. And all I've got is some scrap hemlock here right now. But when you need to make tenons or cut mortises or whatever, you want to take advantage of the natural characteristics of the wood fibers, okay? So that you can save time. So, like, if this were the end piece for a tenon and you mark out your gauge line where you want that tenon to be. Look at your grain on the wood and see which direction is it going, because you can save yourself a lot of sawing time by simply splitting the wood off. Okay? You would split the wood off instead of having to saw through that with a tenon saw. And if you're lucky, the grain of the wood is running away from your gauge line and not into it. Okay? Because then what you can do once you make the first few chopping cuts, you can get in closer to your gauge line at the bottom and then come in and either with a plane or with a chisel, you can pare that all away. Also, if you're going to do any sort of pegs, you want to split your wood so you get the most strength out of your peg. So for like draw boring or just a peg in a hole, that peg will be going through a hole and the tension goes across the grain, not with the grain. So you want to make sure that you have the straightest grain possible for pegs. Today's modern mass-produced dowels are not made that way. Excuse me. They are simply ripped on a table saw of some sort, and the strips are put through a doweling machine, and then they sand them so the grain can go every which way. So dowels are not always the strongest. They do try to go with the grain, but I mean, they're making hundreds of thousands of them. So that's the shop tip for today. Utilize the natural grain of the wood as much as you can to your benefit when removing wood, okay? But don't try and argue with the knots. I'm sorry. You're just not going to split a knot. Doesn't work. So that's one of the reasons why, if you look at 200, 300-year-old furniture, oftentimes any knots would be a byproduct of splitting the wood and planing it, but they would usually put them where you don't see them. Until the advent of the pit saw and then the mechanical up and down saws, which were done with windmills and water wheels, etc. Then they started making more and more boards with knots in them, but they didn't try to plane them smooth and make them part of the work. So there you have it. Utilize the natural characteristics of the wood to your benefit. Like, subscribe, and share. Head out to your workshop and look at your wood before you start working it. See which way the grain's going. Walter out.